In my fear, I believed a lie all those years. I was trying to hide away, ashamed of the light of day. Made a choice, thinking I'd be free, but that choice, it imprisoned me in my shame. Till I stepped into the light of God's love, the healing began. I'm free from the shame, I'm healed of the pain. I will be silent no more. I'm free from the lies, love opened my eyes. I will be silent no more. Love broke through to the heart of me. Now the truth has come and set me free from the past. When I stepped into the light of God's love, forgiven at last, I'm free from the shame, I'm healed of the pain. I will be silent no more. I'm free from the lies, love opens my eyes. I will be silent no more. There is power in my story, freedom from this night. There is healing and forgiveness if we step into the light. I'm free from the shame, I'm healed of the pain. I will be silent no more. I'm free from the lies, love opens my eyes. I will be silent no more. I'm free from the shame, I'm healed of the pain. I will be silent no more. I'm free from the lies, love opens my eyes. I will be silent no
Hello, I'm Janet Marana, the Executive Director of Priests for Life. Welcome to Just Ask Janet. Well, today's program, we are going to talk about abortion, but from a woman's point of view. And joining me on this program is going to be a very, very good friend of mine. Her name is Deborah Tilden, and she is our regional coordinator for the Silent No More Awareness Campaign. You just saw our music video. That song was written by Jamie Lee Collins. She was a evangelical singer, very famous in the 80s and 90s. And she was so inspired about the testimonies of these women. She wrote that song just for us. And then, of course, some of my video experts here at Priests for Life, they put some pictures to make it into a music video. So I hope that kind of got you inspired of why these women are silent and more, because they're freed from that pain of abortion. But right now, I just want to give you a little background about my dear friend Deborah. Besides being the regional coordinator for the Silent No More Awareness Campaign out in Oregon, she's also a keynote speaker, author, advocate, life coach, and citizen lobbyist. She also founded a group called SMART. SMART are the initials, which stands for Science Matters in Abortion-Related Trauma. She launched that back in the spring of 2016. She's been to Washington, D.C. as a city lobbyist 9 times since 2016, and is currently working on a House and Senate resolution. And of course, she shared her personal testimony in Oregon, in the state capitol, on the in front of the Supreme Court with Silent No More, and also out on the West Coast for the Walk for Life. So, Deb, welcome to our program.
Hey, Janet, great to be with you. Thanks for having me.
You are a powerhouse. I have to say that, a powerhouse. You have been, since the moment you stepped into the campaign, like you've been a real out there. You're the kind of regional coordinator. I always pray, please send us more of these ladies who want to dip their fingers in a lot of pies all at the same time. And what I'd like you to do is just briefly, in a snapshot, tell briefly your story of how abortion affected your life, because that's really through that, and your healing is your driving force to do what you're doing. So to give them a quick snapshot.
Okay. Well, it's funny. Little did I know that my abortion almost 41 years ago would be affecting me, would bring me here today. I was 18 years old, engaged to be married to my fiance, and we discovered that I was pregnant from a clandestine weekend. He was actually up in Alaska on a king crabber. We had a weekend in Seattle where we were coming back to work on the ship. And a few weeks later, after he had gone, I came back home to Oregon and found out I was pregnant. And we had to cover up the fact that we were having sex, because I had told my parents we were not. They had actually confronted us. And so it's amazing. What a tangled web we weave if at first we attempt to deceive. So, one lie led to another. Found out I was pregnant. I could not, be 6 months pregnant walking down the aisle for our wedding. And just the shame that it would bring my family. Grew up in the church. But it was never a subject that really our family talked about. Pro-life, pro-choice. It really wasn't a subject that was discussed, nor in my church. And I grew up Southern Baptist. And so I immediately really fell into a lot of self-destructive behaviors. Really immediately. He was still, my fiance was still up in Alaska. And then he called me when I found I was pregnant. Had to let him know, and he sent the money. It was $300 back then. That was 1980, and wow. He sent the money then. And my best friend took me. I even had to lie to my parents of the day that I went to the abortion clinic. I told my parents that we were going to the beach. My friend was taking me to the beach. So, but I was actually going to the Lovejoy Clinic in downtown Portland, Oregon. And it's, and it was, you just felt like cattle. You were running through the women in the room.
That's what I want to ask you, Deb. So, you were 18 years old. Your fiance sends you the money. Your girlfriend now takes you with with the money. From the moment you walked in that clinic, you just said, we were treated like, just give us a little snapshot. Like, when you think about it, you're about to have a medical procedure.
Correct.
Was there anything about like when you go to your normal doctor? Did any of that happen in this abortion?
Well, I never once saw a doctor until the moment he walked in the room to do the abortion. That was the first time, and he was behind a mask, and
you were already on the table, right?
Correct. Yeah, I never had a consultation at all with a medical professional at all. And it was just really surreal. I think I just had gone numb because I felt I didn't feel like I could go to my parents or my fiance's parents. And it was just something that we had to do. They told me it would be no big deal. Life can get back to normal. And it was really interesting. The room was very dark. The shades were drawn. I mean, it was just, a lot of women, you could tell they didn't want to be there. I didn't want to be there. Just, you couldn't cry. They basically hushed you. And you just had to kind of go through there were some beds laying, but then there were also chairs around the room. I mean, I don't even remember how many were in the room until I got called back. They call you back, they put the laminaria stick, and then later on, and then you're just sitting, waiting and waiting and waiting. until they're ready to call you back. And then you don't go out the front door like you normally do at a doctor's office. You go out the back door. So that tells you.
That's strange.
Yeah. We didn't go out the front door that we came into. I went out the back door.
So how far along in your pregnancy were you when you had your abortion?
About 9 weeks.
Wow. Yeah. And so immediately following, did you have any pain, any difficulties, like immediately following the abortion?
Cramping and just uncomfortable. And they said it would just feel like a bee sting. It was definitely more intense than a bee sting, the procedure. I really didn't have any, what would be called, complications
physically. Yeah.
Physically. But I just, went numb. I mean, it really changed our relationship. We got married in March the following year. And there was just different. I mean, we almost divorced the first year. We came very, very close because we depended on drugs and alcohol, and we partied. And that was not my life that I grew up with, or even him. But it was we never talked about. When I went home the night after the abortion, he was in Alaska. He knew the day that it was. We did talk on the phone, but I was sitting in my closet in the dark, as quiet as I could be, on the phone. And he asked me how I was. I couldn't really say a whole lot just because my parents were in the house downstairs, and
you were afraid they would overhear something.
Yeah. And, we didn't have cell phones. It was the house phone. And at that time, we even had, the party lines that we used to have.
Extensions, yeah.
You were my neighbor phone listening. Huh?
Yeah, you were afraid they would pick up the phone and hear what was going on. Yeah.
Well, and even my parents, I didn't know if they would, pick up the phone. And
so you married the guy. Did you guys stay married? Was there
by the grace of God, because statistically 80% of the couples do not stay together. It is truly by the grace of God. Prayer. My grandmother used to pray for all of her grandkids, but it was rough. There were times where we didn't know we would make it.
Were you able to go ahead then and have children?
7 years later, our firstborn son, which is interesting, firstborn sons carry kind of a mantle of just authority and leadership in the household, but he really wasn't the firstborn. He was our son, but that's a whole different subject about birth order. But yeah, we did. And I have three children. But it was interesting. He was my firstborn. It's like, when you think about the enemy wants to steal, kill, and destroy, my son that was born 7 years later, was born blue with the cord around his neck. And
my goodness.
It took him 5 minutes to pink up. So there were some things we had to deal with in his life following all of that. Medical community doesn't treat it the same way, but just my mothering, being a wife, just a woman, just to be a woman. I literally lived in a fog. I was so out of touch with my emotions. My creativity just was out the window. I used to write poems and sing and music and that was what I didn't understand at all. How that there was a disconnect, that it had anything to do with my abortion.
So how did you tell our people here how did you find your healing? Like, at what point did all this like loss of creativity, problems in your marriage, having a baby, but like at what point did you say I need help, and how did you find your healing, and what was it?
Well, in 99, by this time we had moved to Nevada, and I met two other gals in my church that were wanting to start a support group for women who had had an abortion. None of us had really ever talked to anybody about it, but we went and talked to our pastor's wife, and she referred us to Beauty for Ashes out of Van Nuys, California. And it was abortion healing retreat. We thought it was training to run a support group. So we went, but the second I walked through the doors of that retreat center, and it was actually at a hotel, and it was a very quiet part of the hotel, Janet, I wept, and I really didn't understand what was going on.
Right.
But that was really my first step in to really, really acknowledging just how much that choice had affected me. And then that brought me into a whole group of Yolanda Gorick that runs Beauty for Ashes. She ran that ministry. And then I met other women through the ministry. Then a couple years later, we moved to Sacramento, California. I shared my testimony for the first time on the Capitol steps. Well, let me back up. I actually went to the Beauty for Ashes retreats 4 years in a row.
Wow.
The last year, the fourth year we went, they opened it to men. And my husband was one of 7 men that went to that retreat. And Janet, that was the first time my husband and I talked about that day. And the men did separate. There was worship and teaching together at the event, but the men went with another man to just talk through their stuff. Again, there were only 7 men and 75 women at the event.
Wow.
So one of the exercises they had the men do, if the wives were with them, to, at in your hotel room or wherever you're staying, talk about it. And he actually apologized for the first time for not being there,
for you,
for not standing in the gap.
Right.
But he was also being lied to. I was lied to that it was no big deal. He was being lied to. We just bought it. We took the bait, hook, line, and sinker. We were scared, young, and didn't want to disappoint our families and our parents. But look back on it, and it's like, it's amazing that we could have done that.
Right.
We didn't allow our firstborn child
to live. Yeah.
To join our future family together.
Right.
That's a whole nother, program of how that.
All right. So we have a couple questions here. One comes from May Sampson, and she's asking you, Deb, when did you really feel forgiven by God?
Oh, that first weekend of the Beauty for Ashes retreat, she had us. This was the most powerful. Gosh, I can't believe I'm getting emotional.
It's okay.
It was the most powerful moment I've ever had with Jesus. She had us take our shoes off. And obviously there had been other things going on before, but there was a moment in the very first evening. She had us take our shoes off and bring them up to the front of the room. And then to either go back to your spot and just sit on the floor. And I actually chose to sit on my knees. And I really don't remember the exercises she was walking us through. But I remember so vividly that as I was just bowing my head, praying, it was as if Jesus touched the back of my head and just said, I love you. I forgive you. And really from that moment on, there was just such this release. And ever since then, it's been this unpacking. Can't believe I'm weeping here.
It's okay.
Okay, this is the raw nature of what abortion does to you. It's a soul fracturing. And I feel like I've come all these years later. Again, that first year was 99. And so again, I went 4 years total. And then we moved to Sacramento. And that's when I got involved. I shared my testimony on the Capitol steps of Sacramento. And that's when I met other women that were involved with Silent No More, Karen Strong and Talitha Huff. And I was on the conference calls even there when it was Operation Outcry Silent No More. And the executive director came up to me and she said, have you actually gone through a healing program? And I told her about Beauty for Ashes. And she said, I want you to meet the executive director of the abortion recovery program at the center. So I met them the next week. And I wanted to get involved in the healing and recovery side of abortion. And so
another quick question. Someone's asking, is there a website? How can they find out more about Beauty for Ashes retreats?
Well,
do they have a website?
I would look up just Yolanda Gorick online. She is on Facebook, Yolanda YOLANDAGORICK. She's getting it ramped back up. She moved from California to Oregon, and so she's getting that all going again. And so, So
yeah, okay. We have another shout out to you. This is from Chrissy Baylor. She says, "Blessing to you, Deb, and my fellow regional coordinator. Love Chrissy from Ohio. You know Chrissy.
Oh, thank you. Good to see you.
Shout out. Okay, so Deb, you've had such passion. I mean, you would say. I have two quick questions. One is, when you started going public with your story, you had to tell your children. How did that work, and how do they feel about? Because people ask me that all the time. How do their kids feel about their moms being so public about a prior abortion? What was your experience when you told your kids, and how do they feel now that you are so public?
Well, that was when I was in California, because I was starting to go more public and I was leading the Bible studies, and I did not want my kids to hear from somebody else. So, and I probably wouldn't do it this way again, just because I should have included my husband, but I didn't. So I remember so vividly, I was actually sharing this with a friend the other day. We were in my youngest son's downstairs bedroom, and I just felt like I needed to tell them. So I sat them down and I just said, I need to tell you guys something. And because I don't want you to hear from anybody else. So, and my oldest was 15 at the time. Ashley was 13 and Ethan was 11. And so I told him, I don't even really recall the words I used, but I just said, I hope you will forgive me for robbing you of your big sister. And my oldest son really didn't say a lot. He was angry, though. He was angry. And I just let him, he really didn't, again, he didn't say a lot. My daughter didn't say a lot either, but she said, and this is so profound, she goes, I knew somebody was missing.
Wow.
And then the next day, we were sitting out by the pool, and she said, we kind of had our feet dangling in the water, and she goes, Mom, can I ask you a question? Would it be okay if I wrote a book, a fiction story of what it would have been like if I had had my big sister?
Oh.
So, and I'm like, oh, Ashley, my gosh, I would be honored. Thank you for asking me. Thank you. And so we've actually kind of stopped and started this project together over the years, but we're determined that in 2021, we're going to write this book together. So she just share that story. And so we're bringing in some dynamics of that. But the thing that was from my youngest son, Ethan, he said, Mom, if she had been born, would I be here today?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
He had like a survivor reaction.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And I said, Ethan, absolutely you would be here. Right. God chose for you to be here, and we chose for you to be here. And sadly, we chose for Guinevere Rose to not be here. That wasn't God. That was us making a horrible decision to end her life so that she's not here today. And so that just kind of, and my kids over the years since then, different things that I've done in Oregon in 2010, my friend Cindy Brunk and I, she's also a regional coordinator in Oregon. We did a 693-mile walk for 36 days around the state of Oregon to all the memorials for the unborn.
Oh, and wow.
We walked 20 miles a day, lived out of a motorhome. And the day that I was supposed to leave to meet Cindy in Hood River, I just had a practically nervous breakdown because I'm like, what am I doing? What am I doing? So Ethan stood me, by this time he was a senior in high school. He stood me, the way our bedroom was, is there was a step up and I was on the top and he was down on the lower part. He put his hands on my shoulders and just said, Mom, you have to do this for my sister.
Oh.
That was all I needed. The whole time I was just so on fire to do it. And there was a poem that we read called it was called the Please Say My Name Tour. And we actually have a poem that a mom wrote during the for a memorial service when I was in Sacramento, California, to her daughter. and I can share it with you, that you can share it with the viewers. The Please Say My Name poem. And so that just has been, my kids have been and my husband too, has been my heroes and my support and pushing me out the door when there was a period of time I wanted to run away from all this. It was about a 5-year period because I have a tremendous fear of speaking. So I don't
know, Deb, I would never know that.
What's that?
I said, I would never know you had a fear of speaking.
Oh, honey, you don't know how many speakers trainings I've taken in my life.
Well, to tell you the funny story, public speaking was also a fear of mine, believe it or not. And I can remember in college, the one class I dreaded, we had to take a speech class. And I used to get like sweats that morning going, it's speech class today. But what I say is, when they say, if you tell God your plans, you make them laugh, because who knew I'll be speaking, you're speaking. But we only have a couple minutes left. In that time, can you just quickly tell everyone about your Science Matters to Abortion-Related Trauma, SMART Women's Health, and if you have a website where they can visit and get some more information?
Yeah, we started that in 2016 when, actually fall of 2015 with my friend Esther Ripplinger. You probably know Esther.
I know Esther.
And when the David Daleiden story broke, and we saw women who had been involved in the healing and recovery for decades, years, were being traumatized again with all of that information coming out.
Right.
And I had already, Dr. Angela Lanfranchi, I had met her at a medical lecture, so I had the complications book. So I was meeting with my state reps, sharing my story. I had one little brochure, and I was meeting with them. And basically, SMART stands for Science Matters and Abortion-Related Trauma. This book has a compilation of more than 600 worldwide studies of the physical and psychological harm of abortion on women. And so I've just really been trying to get that information out. SmartWomen'sHealthcare.com. It came out of my life coaching practice, LifeVictory.com. And it's just been this, it's only got, like you said, we can make our plans, but the Lord orders our steps.
That's right.
It's just been an amazing journey that God has called me to. And one of the things is Life Victory came out of the season of when I went through my healing and recovery. It was the word I got from the Lord in the spring of 2003. And then that's when I started pursuing life coach training to do life coaching. And then just over the years, it's just morphed. And then this happened. And I've been going to DC since 2016. And we've been working on a House and Senate resolution. We've had so much support. There's about 175 to 200 copies of this book in the halls of Congress.
Wow.
And it's a new message, though, because it's women's health care. We really don't talk about the messaging of pro-life or pro-choice.
Right.
It's really amazing at how the bubble that abortion has been put in. It is the only accepted form of domestic violence and abuse against women and children.
Right.
It's an accepted form. And I just have to take it to the Lord every day, because there was a season I was very angry with these people, but they are just as passionate about their belief system. So I have to learn to just
navigate.
And it's story. I always start with my story. I wouldn't be here today, if when I'm talking to them, and a lot of times they don't know what to do with me when I meet with legislators. Well, are you pro-life or pro-choice? I said, well, technically both, but this is about women's health care and what women should receive. Full disclosure, that's really one of our main goals, is in the public policy arena and the education arena, that women are being given full disclosure and informed consent. Our new mission statement this year that we've worked on is forging a science-based, holistic framework of women's healthcare programs and partnerships impacting public policy and education. So we really are building a coalition of a lot of different organizations, like you guys, Facts About Fertility, Angela Lanfranchi's Breast Cancer Prevention Institute. I just want to create this coalition of all these different entities, and the Republican women. I'm working with them on a resolution that we're supposed to vote on this spring. And we have had a handful actually a lot of Democrats who come along. So it's not a partisan issue either. It's
Right.
it's truth. And we just want to, and again, our stories are what open the door. And I have to say, the music that you played at the beginning, way to start the show. I'm sitting here trying to, holding back tears. I'm going, this is my story. The words in those songs are so powerful and true.
Right. I know.
And it really touched the heart of people.
All right. Well, Deb, I really want to thank you for sharing so openly today with our viewers. And for those who would like to know any more about Deb, you can go to silentnomore.com, click on our USA map there, and you go to Oregon, and there's Deb's email and how to be in touch with her. And if you know someone who needs healing, we'd like you to go to abortionforgiveness.com. Just put in your zip code there, and you'll see where the nearest healing program is to your zip code, and spread the word, because the Lord's merciful. The forgiveness is there. You just have to reach out and ask for it. It's always there. And all the women from Silent More, I can tell you, of all these years of being with them, it's so freeing for them when they finally accept that mercy and forgiveness that was always there for them. To now be silent no more. So again, God bless you, Deb. We'll be in touch as always. And brothers and sisters, you heard Deb talk about her son saying he knew someone was missing. That's what we here at Silent and More call the shockwaves of abortion, the widest circle of victims. This is a beautiful book I wrote regarding that, talking about how that abortion affects the mom, the dad, future siblings. It affects the grandparents. And this book is available at our online store at prolifeproducts.org. Again, Shockwaves, Abortion's Widest Circle of Victims, written by me. And this really helps you delve into the damage abortion does at prolifeproducts.org. Well, thank you for joining us today. Until next time, this is Janet Marana of Just Ask Janet. God bless.